Okay, today we are going to look at the concept of biology. We are going to start from very basic. What is biology? Biology actually is a word that comprise or that can be fragmented into two. We have bios and we have bios and logos. So when we say bios, it means bios means life. Then we have logos. Logos means story. So it means that in a simple way, when we say biology, it means it's the story of life. It's one of the branch of sciences that study life. And when we say life, it means that every living organisms that exists on Earth. So we have so many organisms. Like for example, currently on Earth, there are over 1.2 million living organisms, and of course, some organisms are still alive, some organisms are extinct, and some organisms are endangered. When we say extinct organisms, it means that are organisms that survived before, like million years ago, but they are not longer exist on Earth. So those organisms are called extinct organisms. So biology is trying to look at all those organisms, those organisms that are currently on Earth, those organisms that are endangered, those organisms that are extinct, that is including those that are no longer exist on Earth. So biology is just trying to study all the living organisms on Earth, and we have so many branches of biology ranging from botany. So when we say botany, is one of the branches of biology that deals with the study of plants. So when we are talking about study of plants, it means that the botany, as I said, is a study of plant, and of course we know that when there are so many plants that are now used, some actually in curing so many diseases. So botany is one of the branch of biology trying to study plants. And of course we have different types of plants. It can be shrubs, it can be grasses, it can be higher plant. So botany is one of the branch of biology that deals with the study of plants. And then we have another branch of biology which is called zoology. We have zoology. Zoology. And of course, this is a branch of biology that deals with the study of animals. That is zoology. Zoo means animal. And we have microbiology. Microbiology. So microbiology is also another branch of biology that deals with the study of microorganisms. That deals with the study of microorganisms. And of course, from the word micro means tiny, that is small. Bio means life, and logos means study. So it means that in biology, in microbiology, it means that it's a branch of biology that deals with the study of tiny organisms. So when we say tiny organisms, that are microorganisms. And these microorganisms are organisms that cannot be seen with the naked eyes. We cannot see them with our naked eyes except when we use a microscope. So like for example, we have group of microorganisms. We have what we call groups of microorganisms. We have group of microorganisms. These groups of microorganisms include, we have bacteria. Bacteria is one of the group of microorganisms. And number two, we have protozoans. We have virus. We have number four, we have helminths. Helminths. That is worms. And then number 5, we have algae. So these are the group of microorganisms that in many cases we cannot see them with our naked eyes except when we use microscope. So these are the group of microorganisms. And of course, they are all fall under microbiology. And ladies and gentlemen, you should understand that all these branches of biology that we are talking about is the area of specialization where you can do your degree, you can do your master's, even PhD. So these are the branch of microbiology. So under group of, and of course, as I said, these microorganisms, because as we said, microbiology is a branch of biology that deals with the study of microorganisms. And microorganisms, as I said, they are organisms that you cannot use your eyes to see them except to use microscope because they are very tiny and they are everywhere. And some of these microorganisms, they cause disease. Some of these microorganisms are even of industrial importance. So we have so many microorganisms that are beneficial and some that are dangerous. They cause diseases in our body. And then the next in another branch of other branches of biology we have, this is 1, of course this is 2. Another branch of biology that we are going to look at is number 4, which is we also have physiology. We also have physiology. So when we say physiology, it means the study of functions of living organisms. So the functions. So physiology is the branch of biology that deals with the study of functions of living organisms. That is how living organism functions. Like for example, in human beings, we have so many different organs and tissues that are found in the body. And of course, we have even cells, and different cells form different organisms. So what I wanted us to understand here is that in physiology, we have a brain, we have kidney, we have liver. So to know the functions of the liver, to know the functions of the brain, to know the functions of the kidney are all fall under physiology. That is to know the functions of each and every cell, tissue and organs in the living organisms. And that is physiology. And then the next branches of biology after physiology is anatomy. We have, which is number 5, we have anatomy. So what is anatomy? Anatomy is also another branches of biology that deals with the study of the internal structure of living organisms. Study what? The internal. It study the internal structure of living organisms. Like for example, in anatomy, when we said internal structure, of course, internally in our body we have brain, kidney, liver, pancreas. To study those different organs that are present inside our body is called under anatomy. And then another branches of biology apart from this, we also have cytology. Cytology. So when we say cytology from the word cytology is the study of cell. It's the study of cells. That is why the cyto means cells. So cytology is the study of cell. And of course in biology or in physiology, that is why whenever you see a word and in cyte, it means that it's a cell. Like for example, when we say hepatocyte, when you say hepatocytes, hepatocytes, it ends with cyte, it means it's a cell of the liver, it's a cell that is found in the liver. And we also have neurocytes. Neuroscience. So they all end with the word cyte. So the study of cell is called cytology. And of course, we know that when we said a cell is the structural and the functional unit of life. So if there is no cell, so there is no life. So cell is the structural and the functional unit of life. And whenever there is a problem with our cell, it means that there is a problem with our life. Like for example, sometimes we are not actually, or we used to develop a disease conditions when our cells are not functioning well. So cell is the structural and the functional unit of life. If there is a problem of cell, let's say now in the liver, the problem associated with the liver are always originated from the problem of the cell of the liver. So, and of course, some people that have or develop a brain problem because of the problem associated with the neurocytes, that is the cells that are found in the brain. And then, of course, as we are saying cells, we have different types of cells. We have types of cells. We have types of cells. Number one, we have what we call eukaryotic cell. Eukaryotic. We have eukaryotic cells. And number two, we have prokaryotic cells. So when we say eukaryotic cells, it means that are the cells that have nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. So all cells that have nucleus and membrane-bound organelles, they are called eukaryotic cells. So they have nucleus and the membrane-bound organelles. An example of membrane-bound organelles, we have the nucleus itself, mitochondria, chloroplast, Golgi body, ribosomes. They are all membrane-bound organelles, and they are all found in the eukaryotic cells. And of course, we also have prokaryotic cells. So what is a prokaryotic cell? Prokaryotic cells are those cells that do not have nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. And then the next thing after the types of cells, we also have classification of cell. So under classification of cell, we have classification of cells. So under this classification of cells, we have number one, we have unicellular organisms. The number two, we have multicellular organisms. So what is the unicellular organisms? From the word uni means one. So unicellular organisms, they have only one cell, while multicellular organisms, they have so many cells. So example of unicellular organisms, we have something like bacteria. We have something like bacteria, amoeba, paramecium. So these are the examples of unicellular organisms. And we also have multicellular organisms, that is those that have many cells. An example of these multicellular organisms, we have something like humans, dogs. All these are the examples of multicellular organisms. It means that they have many cells. Like for example, in human being, we have like average human being. There are about 37.2 trillion cells. So the number of cells are huge. And of course, this is what you call unicellular organisms. So cytology is a branch of biology that deals with the study of cells. And then the next branches of biology that we are going to look at is taxonomy. We have taxonomy. So what is taxonomy? When we say taxonomy, is the study of classification of living organisms. So generally, because there are millions and billions of living organisms that exist on Earth, So the most simplest way to study those organisms is by trying or by classifying them. We classify them into subgroups so that you can be easily recognize and identify which is which. So that is why taxonomy of every living organisms is very, very important. It's good to know how organisms are being classified. And of course, as I said, taxonomy is the study of classification of living organisms. The study of classification, the study of classification of living organisms. That is taxonomy, the study of classification of living organisms. And of course, under this classification of living organisms, we have kingdoms. We have like about 5 kingdoms. And of course, we are coming, that is, I think, the next topics that we are going to look at after these branches of biology. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are some branches of biology. We have so many of them. We have biochemistry. We have, in fact, we have so many branches of biology. Even we have biogeography, biophysics, so many of them. We have so many of them. Paleontology, evolution, genetics. Yeah, genetics. We also have genetics as one of the branches of biology. We have genetics. We have genetics, and of course, what is genetics? We have genetics as also another one of the branches of biology. So, what is genetics? Genetics is the scientific study of heredity. The scientific study of heredity and variation. When you say heredity is the scientific study of heredity and variation. What is heredity? Heredity is a transfer of characters from parent to the offspring. It's the what? Transfer of characters from parents to their offspring. Like for example, the skin color. If our parents are black, so there is a possibility that we can inherit that black color. So the transfer of characters from parent to their offspring is what we call heredity. Then the next thing is variation. And okay, before we move to the variation, that I said, we have heredity. One of the characters that we inherit from our parents, number one, you have intelligence. If your parents are intelligent, then there is a likelihood you are going to be intelligent. And if your parents are dull, so there is a likelihood that you will be, or you can inherit that character from your parent. And of course, one very important thing that we should know, that most, especially intelligence, most of 70 to 80% of intelligence is coming from the mother. So if your mother is not intelligent, so there is a likelihood that the child from that particular mother will not be intelligent. And I think this is normally, it usually happens. We know that there are so many people that we can see that maybe from one particular family, you can see that a man having like 3 wives. You can see that maybe a child from a particular wife, they are also the children from a particular wife, they are, most of them, if not all, maybe 90% or 95%, they're intelligent. But the same father, but different mother, the child from that mother, it may be possible that maybe only 10% or 15% of them will be intelligent. And the reason is not because the father is not intelligent, it's because the mother is not intelligent. She doesn't have that intelligence the intelligence from her brain, and she fasts that to their or to her child, and that is why they are not intelligent. And the reason why this intelligence is actually coming from the mother is because of three reasons. And number one is because of the breastfeeding. And of course, if we check our chromosomes, for the male they have, for the men they have XX with XY chromosomes, and for the women there is for the women they have XX chromosome. So it means that if you look at the Y there, it means that something is missing. Like for example, XX. So if you remove something like this here, it's you derive Y from X. So it means that it's missing. So some of that genes that are related to intelligence is missing in men, and that is why in many cases the issue of intelligence is actually coming from the mother. And then the next thing after this, there is also what you call mitochondrial DNA. So mitochondrial DNA is usually passed to the child through mother. It's the mitochondrial DNA from the mother that usually passes to the offspring, and that is why the intelligence is usually coming from the mother. So ladies and gentlemen, these are some of the branches of biology, and of course we are going to look at the other aspect of biology in the next video. And if this is the first time you are coming to my YouTube channel, please subscribe.